Hello everyone. Today we'll be talking about how to survive in a recession. 10 tips on how to thrive even in an economic recession. Welcome to Straight Talk with Dr. Ide, where I talk about wealth creation and financial discipline. I am Dr. Olaide. If you're not yet subscribed to this channel, I think you're missing out. Why not subscribe right now and hit that notification bell so you get notifications every time I post new videos. Now straight to the chase, 10 tips on how to thrive even in an economic recession. Tip number 1, have a realistic financial goal. Now what do I mean? Don't just say, I want to be very rich. I want to be worth $5 billion in the next 10 years. I want to be so rich. No. You can say, in the next 10 years, I want to ensure that I have 20 streams of income, diversified funds. You be very specific and be realistic. Know your capacity right now and try to forecast where you will be in the next 5 to 10 years or even 20 years. Always think long term. We'll talk about that more later. So in making your financial goals, ensure that it's very realistic. Don't just be very vague with values. Don't just say, I want to earn 20 trillion. Yeah, everybody wants $20 trillion. Everybody wants to be worth $20 trillion. You need to be very realistic. Well, take stock about where you are right now and see where, try to forecast where you could be in the next 10 years. That is being realistic and that's being true to yourself. Tip number 2, very, very important. In fact, it ensures that your mindset is aligned with what your heart thinks. Ensuring that you have a steady and consistent affirmation and confession time. Have a list of affirmations and confessions you write down. You say it to yourself every morning when you wake up. You write it down, you read it to yourself. I'm the one the world is waiting for. In the next 10 years, I want to have this, I want to have that. You lay out your goals. All the academic achievements you want to attain in the next 5, 10, 20 years, you put them down on paper. Your goals, write them down and read them to yourself. Speak them out. Be consumed by this drive. Be consumed by these goals so that they're not just mere words. Don't just write them down and keep them somewhere. Write them down, read them to yourself. Challenge your mind regardless of where you are right now. If you see yourself so low and incapable of achieving those things, forget about that. Keep reading it to yourself. Believe in it. Believe in your dream. Keep saying it. Keep reading it. Keep confessing, affirming it every day. It will be worth your while. Tip number 3. Remember how I keep talking about savings. Now, you should have an emergency fund set aside. And what do we usually call emergency fund? Ensure that 6 months worth of your current salary or your current earnings is stacked up somewhere as an emergency fund. You don't touch it. That's an emergency fund. So just in case something happens, it doesn't shake you regardless of whatever economy you find yourself in. I've already talked many times about how to save. You save in percentages. Save the deliberate, consistent 20% of your daily, weekly or monthly income. Tip number 4, be frugal. Live within your means. You're not here to compete with anybody. You're not here to impress anybody. Are true to yourself. Always live within your means. Don't go around spending so much money on clothes you don't need, on mobile phones, on gadgets, on cars you don't need. Think assets. Think of things that will bring money to you rather than take money away. So always learn to live within your means. Is there a cheaper and yet healthier way to live? Yes, that's the way you think. Think that way. Always live within your means. Never overdo it. Tip number 5, build multiple streams of income. Now, the fact that I'm a medical doctor doesn't mean I should only invest in healthcare. There are many other means. Let me give an example now. Let me give this analogy. During the COVID-19, there were still some businesses that would thrive despite the COVID-19, despite the hardship. An example is feeding. No matter what, people will always feed. So if you invest in such businesses, you can't go wrong. Telecommunications, despite there was a lockdown, you were still buying data, you were still buying airtime, call card, you still have to buy these things. So these are things you should start thinking of. That despite a recession, despite a lockdown, I want to ensure that I am invested in a business that will keep yielding profits. Think that way. Multiple streams of income. Tip number 6, always think long term. Don't just think about what to gratify now. Delay the gratification. Delayed gratification. Always think about long term. If I invest this now, will I be able to live comfortably in the next 5-10 years, the next 20 years? Always think long term. Do not be deceived by immediate gratification. Exactly what you want now. Spend frugally now so you can spend lavishly in the nearest future. Tip number 7, know thyself. Always know your risk appetite, your risk limit. Do not go beyond your risk capability. How do I mean? You want to ask yourself, how much funds do you have available to play away with? How much funds can you lose without it affecting you emotionally, financially, health-wise? What is your risk limit? What can you take? What hits, what punches, what blows can you get? What bomb blasts can you take? Be true to yourself. Never go beyond your financial risk level. It could be very devastating. You might never recover from it. Tip number 8, diversify your investments. Now, never think one cash cow would always produce cash forever. Be very smart, be innovative, move with the trend. Always ensure that you diversify your funds to ensure security, because that cash cow that is producing funds right now might not be very viable in the next 5 years. Think about it. There are a lot of businesses that used to thrive back 10, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, but would not thrive now. An example, sad to say, is the cyber cafe business. A cyber cafe business used to be an odd cake 10, 20 years ago. But right now, I'm sure some of you don't even know what a cyber cafe is all about. Now that you can send mails with the comfort of your phone in your homes. So always diversify investments for security purposes to ensure that you don't go bankrupt. Think like an agriculturist. Think like a farmer. You sow seeds, you reap a bumper harvest. A farmer always looks for fertile land to be able to grow his crops. Think that way. Look for viable, fertile investments to put your money into. Tip number 9, develop a deliberate expenditure lifestyle. Be very deliberate about your finances. Always work with percentages. When you work with percentages, you most likely can't go wrong. You know the amount available for spending. You know the amount available for saving, for investing, for helping out, for charity. Everything is deliberate, just like a library. Every book in its place. Your money is just like a library. Every fund in its place. Even if you intend to be a little reckless with spending, you know that your recklessness is still within borders of percentages. You are still safe. So like I said earlier, ensure you develop a deliberate expenditure lifestyle. You can't go wrong doing this. Tip number 10, stay informed. Now this is very important. In fact, the most important tip here. When you lack information, you're obsolete and you're not out of the game. You need to stay informed. You need to have friends. A circle of friends with the same mindset, with the same purpose, similar goals. You're driven not by greed, but by the betterment of your locality. You're driven by the purpose to create solutions to problems. Always stay within a sphere of information where information keeps spreading. Never stay ignorant. Ignorant helps no one. It's not an excuse. If you just found this video interesting, I would have you like, share, post your comments, and don't forget, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Till we meet again, same time, same place next week. Don't forget, health is wealth. Bye.